This is Greg Troutwine with Maritime Reporter TV, and we're very pleased to be joined today with Erik Hånell, the President and the CEO of Stena Bulk, to discuss Stena Bulk's decarbonization plan to become a net zero business by 2050. Erik, first and foremost, I appreciate you joining us, and I'm sure that many of our viewers and many of our readers know the Stena Bulk name. But just to start, can you give a short overview, a by the numbers look at the company today?
Sure, yeah. Stena Bulk today, we run around 110 tankers, where 30% is owned and 70% is either on time charter or commercial management. We have, the fleet we are running is, to a high degree, it's Suezmaxes and MR-sized tankers, but also a few shuttle tankers and also some intermediate chemical tankers. The revenue, including our joint ventures, is somewhere around between 1.2 and 1.3 billion US dollar. And then today we have around 90 people employed globally, where we have the offices in the head office in Gothenburg, another office in Copenhagen, and then Singapore, Dubai, and Houston, where we have the satellite offices.
As I said during the introduction, Stena Bulk has recently unveiled its decarbonization plan to become a net zero business by 2050. Can you give us a brief summation of the 5 milestone plan between now and 2050?
Yeah, I will do my best here. Already last year, actually, we have from 2020 we have been able to give our customers a biofuel option, which basically means that they can offset the carbon that the ships are then releasing compared with traditional fuels. And of course, between now 2021 and 2030, we're going to have a lot of new stakes in the ground. But what we're doing here is, of course, for 2020, to prepare the ships so they can run on alternative fuels. And I would say that from 2030, we would not build a ship that cannot have an alternative fuel that then can be carbon neutral. We have another stake in the ground, which is 2035. That is when we say that we're going to build something called Infinity Max. And that is a concept today. And my view here is that we will probably build something similar to it, which basically means that it's going to be a ship that is carbon neutral to 100%. And then 2040, our operation should be carbon neutral, using zero emission ships in combination with efficient ships in combination with carbon emission trading. And then, of course, 2050, we are then aiming to have a net zero business and using fuels produced by capturing carbon from the other sources, and production should be, in simple terms, carbon neutral. And with that, of course, we're going to continue to use the fuels we see today, but they will probably, to a high degree, be produced in other ways they are today.
Obviously there are a lot of moving parts in all of this. Can you provide a length, a shape, a scope to the level of investment that just went into devising this plan?
Of course, it is definitely a very challenging question. But if we start with today, where we are in today's situation, and I know there's not any legislations put in place yet, but I'm sure we're going to have a few new set of rules coming out here the next months, actually, or next year. That means that we have to take some action so we can then reach, as an example, the 2030 goal, when we have to be able to reduce the consumption of the fleet with 40% compared with 2008. And of course, there are still some outstanding issues of what IMO will come up with. But then we have ourselves created a number of different scenarios of what this really means. So if we look at our fleet today, a fleet that is built, you can say in average 2015, roughly, we probably have to invest somewhere in between $5 to $6 million for each and every ship between now and 2030 to be able to reach those goals. That is, of course, you make the ships more fuel efficient. So you are going to have a reasonable payback time in those investments if you do it in the right time and the technology that it has been developed so far, so you can trust in the decision makings you are taking. Of course, this is a quite difficult task, nevertheless, and the problem today is really what will the end game be, and what kind of parameters will you have to consider going forward here, and that is something, of course, the regulators has to come up with here rather sooner than later. And then, of course, beyond 2030, new ships and so on, it is, of course, even more difficult to predict something, and especially with new technologies that are, I would say, developing a lot faster than has done in the past. And I think that's probably something we always said through history. But saying that today, I would definitely say that today I would not even guess what's going to cost 2035 to build a ship that is ready for 2050 and beyond. But we have then, as you know, created a ship called a concept called the Infinity Max. And we probably have some ideas. There's still going to be some wild guesses, but some ideas of what that will mean going forward. So in a very broad and a very rough estimate, we assume that with the technology that we see today and how we believe it will be developed, it's going to be an additional cost of around 30 to 40% with compared with today's prices.
So, Erik, in announcing Stena Bulk's decarbonization plan, you were quoted as saying, in order to decarbonize, the maritime community must take risks, push sustainability boundaries, and embrace a partnership approach. From this, I just have two questions. First, can you clarify regarding the risks that must be taken?
Yeah, I mean, the risk here is, I will call it to a very high degree, that's the financial risk. And with the risk in that respect, it's to go for something new that is probably a little bit untested. And that is the risk that I think we all like to share, especially ship owners like to share that with both suppliers and customers. So I think that is to a very high degree what we all need to see. That is a broader collaboration between parties within, but also outside the industries going forward to be able to, as quick as possible, then reach the goals we are all aiming for.
The second part of that question is regarding the partnerships. Can you expand on the partnership aspect of this, discussing partnerships that Stena Bulk already has or will seek to enter?
Yeah, no, I mean, Stena Bulk's history is to a high degree built up with through partnerships, and with today's development, of course, we feel it's more important than ever to build on what we have, and of course also find new partnerships. Traditionally, we have had partnerships where we have a customer on one side, and then we have us as a ship owner on the other side. This is, of course, something we will continue with, and we will seek more partnerships in this respect. We have a quite new relationship with Proman, the methanol producer, the second biggest methanol producer in the world, and that's something that we definitely believe a lot in respect of a sustainable way going forward when it comes to fuel. And you know, aside from this, of course, again, partnerships both within and outside the industries we are in is something we will continue to work with, not only in Stena Bulk as its own entity, but also other groups in the Stena sphere, where we have the R&D department, Stena Technique. And of course, we have our sister company in Stena Line on the ferry side, where we of course are cooperating with them as well. So trying to get the best out of what the development we are then trying to get into our ways of developing ourselves, but of course together with the outside world as well, which I think is very important for the whole industry here going forward.
It has been said time and again that there is no silver bullet solution to this decarbonization path. But if you had to pick one technology, one technique that you believe will be have the biggest impact, what would it be and why?
No, it is, of course, again, that's the billion-dollar question, I guess. It will not be a silver bullet, but I mean, we don't have to hide anything in respect of what we are aiming for right now, and we strongly believe in methanol as a potential future fuel going forward. Today, the reason for that is a technique that already exists. It's working technique, and then of course it comes down to that you have to make that the methanol more environmental friendly. And I mean, it's already today. It definitely has a number of benefits compared with the traditional fossil fuel or gas or fuel oil. Because it has a lot less emissions, not the CO2 necessarily, but you have others like particles and nitrogen and so on. And so I mean, in this respect, of course, it's already taken a few steps in the right direction. I definitely believe a lot in that this could be developed through other means of producing this type of energy. We already see biomethanol equipment or biomethanol production, and even e-methanol production is in the pipeline to get out. So it could definitely be one way going forward, and something we believe in a lot.
As you know, the majority of ship companies are fairly small fleets. And as I think you might agree, there's a healthy amount of question marks and concerns regarding the call to dramatically reduce emissions. From that perspective, what best practical advice would you offer for ship owners who are watching this and who have yet to decide their own path to decarbonization?
Yeah, it is for sure. I think it doesn't really matter if you're big or small. It's still a lot of question marks, but I mean, we can just look at ourselves, and today we are very hesitant to order ships actually because of the new technology, or rather what has not been developed yet, and we want to see. We probably like to see a clearer pathway going forward here before we take the steps into the next generation of ships. But also, it is definitely also to follow exactly what's happening in the market and around the regulatories and the decision making around that. I mean, we as an industry usually have not been together with the decision makers. We have followed what they have told us to do. But I think this time around it would be beneficial for the industry if we take a part of this discussion and a lot earlier degree, and also making sure that we are giving regulators advices rather than just following what they are asking us to do. So and those ways going forward is of course something we have to work with a lot, and that's not one ship owner, it's all ship owners that have to work with this, and that becomes for small and big ship owners. So collaboration between everybody as far as possible in this respect, and agility, and make sure that we are actually working with this together in a global sense and not regional sense.
Okay, well, these are interesting times indeed. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to following up with you as you embark on this path as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right.